My name is Chief Barrister Zaccheaus Oladapo Ogundipe. I was born at Lafalu Village, Obafemi Local Government, Ogun State, on 25 June 1946. To the family of Chief Samuel Majekodunmi Ogundipe, my father of blessed memory, and Mrs. Susanna Chief Mrs. Susanna Olufunke Ogundipe, Senior, also of blessed memory. I attended All Saints Anglican Primary School, Owodiegba, in the Obafemi Local Government, Ogun State. The oldest primary school in the local government. I was enrolled in 1953 and I passed out in 1959. After passing out of my primary education, my parents could not afford to send me to secondary school. So I was ferried to Lagos to stay with my uncle, Mr. S. Folorunsho, a.k.a. Boda Surveyor. I was ultimately proceeded to another uncle, Mr. Emmanuel Oluwumi Ayorindi of blessed memory, who was working then at the Nigerian Railway Recreation Club, Okera, Ebute Meta, opposite Williams Memorial Methodist Church, Ondo City West, Lagos. With him, he introduced me to learn typewriting at the Institute of Ademuti Secretarial Institute at Abulenla Road, near off Akpapa Road, Utemeta. From there, I proceeded to Jimmy Faneye Secretariat Institute, where I learned typewriting and Pitman's Chotan. As I was living with my brother, my uncle, Mr. Yorinde, he took me to our aunt, Mrs. Abigail Shobande Ni Shokeye, who certified my character and told him to accept me as his cousin. I'm grateful to her for that singular act till tomorrow. As I was staying with my uncle, Mr. Emmanuel Oluwumi Ayorindi of blessed memory, I was assigned by him to be doing part of his job, that is, preparing members of the club who now normally came to play lawn tennis. And mostly I was picking ball. I will put up the net, roll off the net after they are closed, and principally picking the balls whenever they were playing. I was the most senior boy picking the ball, As I was picking the ball, a member of the club, in the person of the Honorable Justice Joseph Adetunji Adefarasin, spotted me and called me, "Why am I picking ball? Don't I go to secondary school?" I then told him that my parents have no money to send me to secondary school. He said, "What am I doing?" Then I said, "I'm learning typewriting." He said, "Whenever I know it very well, I should see him in his chambers." I thanked him for that. I continued to learn my typewriting. Meanwhile, that was in 1960. That was 1960. I met the Honorable Joseph Adefarasin in 1960. And it was from there he picked me up. Just as I was picking the balls, he also picked me up. Then, as I was learning the typewriting, I then took to do some manual jobs in typewriting with the West African Court of Appeal. Manual job in the sense that I was never a staff of the West African Court of Appeal, but a peace typist. A peace typist means somebody or a person who is not employed as a typist, but who does the job of typewriting for casual purposes. We are paid whatever you type. In fact, I was so junior then that I have senior peace typists who paid me, who normally paid me out of their own, out of the payment they made, to show that I'm their junior. So peace typist is equivalent to a casual labourer, just like a casual labourer at Apapa Wharf. As it were, when I knew the typewriting to the best of my satisfaction, I went to the Honorable Justice Joseph Adetunji Adefarasin to inform him that I have now known the typewriting and reintroduce myself. Because 1960 to 1964 is a long period. So he still remembered me and then introduced me to the Honorable Mr. Magnus Akiwande Macaulay of blessed memory, who was then the Chief Registrar of the Supreme Court. I applied for the job of a typist. I was sent to the Federal Training Center to do a test, which I did and passed. That was 1964 August. I was then employed as a temporary typist without any grade. So the civil service then, the federal service then, was that whenever you pass your typewriting certificate, popularly known as Royal Society of Arts of London, you are automatically upgraded. So, as it were, when I passed my 25 hours per minute typewriting of the Royal Society of Arts, RSA, with credit, I was graded typing grade 3, and thereby confirmed. That was 1964. In 1960, no, that was 1964. In 1965, I passed my 35 hours per minute. I was graded typing grade 2. In 1968, I passed my 50 hours per minute. typewriting. At that point in time, I've already passed 60 words per minute shorthand, but that is not the reckoning with my appointment. I was still a typist. I passed 50 words per minute in 1968 typewriting. I was graded typist grade 1. In 1969, there was a white paper called Elwood Wages and Salary Commission White Paper, which reviewed the salary of workers and merged many scales together. So a scale was created for typists called Scale F4 for senior typists, for the office of senior typist. So I applied for advancement. On the basis of that advancement, I was made to write to the Minister of Establishment, Federal Minister of Establishment, which confirmed that that position exists. And I was made senior typist. Senior typist. Because the white paper states, wherever there are 6 typists in a department, one of them shall be a senior typist. In 1969, I was advanced to the level of senior typist, scale F4. As a matter of fact, when the White Paper Commission was published, that was the first time the office of senior typist was created. So I applied. So the chief registrar of the Supreme Court was wondering, how could one have applied for promotion? They then stated that this is not a promotion, it's an advancement. But it is created by a white paper, by a government white paper. So I was told to apply to the Minister of Establishment, Federal Minister of Establishment, which I did through the chief registrar, Supreme Court. The Federal Minister of Establishment now replied and confirmed that yes, I'm qualified and entitled to be graded senior typist. And this made me the first senior typist in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Now, after getting through these typewriting skills and grades, I now started serious reading at the prompting of the Honorable Justice Joseph Adetunji Adefasin, who told me that I must have GCE, because without GCE, I cannot change to any other cadre in the civil service or any other profession or any other job. So then I now started serious reading for my General Certificate of Education. This I did vigorously through the popular Rapid Result College, London, who normally send tutorials to whoever pays for a particular subject. I studied many subjects, and with thanks to God, I have 7 O-level papers, 7 GC O-level papers, and 5 A-level papers, both from the General Certificate of Education, University of London, and Royal Society of Arts of London. But most importantly, I had my GC English language from the University of London at first sitting. This created a sort of pilgrimage for my fellow staff in the judicial department. That how can a typist that passed London GC English at first sitting? And they all embraced me, and they all came to greet me from both the Federal Supreme Court, the Federal Revenue Court, now Federal High Court, and the Lagos State High Court. They all became my friends. They tried to know me. So from there, I now converted to clerical grade. When the opportunity came for the promotion of assistant registrar, I now attended the assistant registrar promotion, grade above 6, which I passed. I was made assistant registrar in 1976. In 1977, I was promoted Supreme Court registrar. So and so on. Then I had a stint at the Nigerian Law Reform Commission when I asked for a promotion, posting, a transfer to the Nigerian Law Reform Commission. This made me the first established member of staff of the Nigerian Law Reform Commission when it was created in 1979. And as it were, I followed the Honorable Sir Justice Stanley Arthur Raymond Alexander, who was then the chairman of the commission. It was then I was reading I was admitted to University of Lagos in 1979, part-time studies, law, and I passed out in 1984, and then proceeded. I graduated in 1984 with LLB honors. From then, I proceeded to the Nigerian Law School, where I was called to bar in 1985. I was 75 years on day for yesterday, on Friday, 25 June 2021. Just day before yesterday, I became 75 years of age. My matrimonial life, if I will now add at this juncture, I got married to my wife, Mrs. Ramota, who later became Rachel Aweni Ogunipe ní Ekundayo in 1977. And we are blessed with 7 children. And it will interest me to know and to note with gratitude to God that of all these children, 5 are legal practitioners, while 2 are, do I say lawyer or law student, or they are in law. They are in law studies, but 5 are already legal practitioners. 2 are in law studies.
Okay, so tell us about, after you became a lawyer, your called to bar, what next?
Yes, after being called to bar in 1985, I moved down to my local government, that is Obafemi local government. Precisely, Owode Egba, to practice law. But invariably, it turned out to mean that I have to go to Abeokuta almost all the time because there is no law-oriented court in the whole of Obafemi local government. Everybody has to go to Abeokuta, either Abeokuta Magistrate District or Abeokuta Judicial Division. This I fought for vehemently, and praise be to God, Obafemi Magistrate District was created with all the effort I put in on November 1, 2010. It was then we now have a law court in Obafemi local government, precisely in Owode Egba. I thank my God for that because I was the first resident legal practitioner in the whole of Obafemi local government, as it then was. But many people have now moved in and so on. Although moving in, not resident per se, moving in, moving out, and so coming to court and going back to either Lagos or Abeokuta. But I am still the only resident, properly so called, legal practitioner in the Obafemi local government.
Thank you very much. So what is practice? What has been your practice? What has the practice been like for you? Your experience, the challenges, the opportunities, and the blessings.
Yes, there are many challenges in the sense that being the first resident legal practitioner in a community where there is no court, where they are not used to legal principles, except the traditional way of doing things, traditional methods of settling matters, and so on. I was able to restructure first and foremost the Baale's palace, who intimated me to help him to restructure the village, now the town, because he finds it, because that's in the person of Chief Ijaola Olawale Akigbogun of blessed memory. He was a retired civil servant in the Western Region Civil Service. He's highly enlightened. So he was not able easily to cope with those he was ruling. So when he introduced this, they say no. When he introduced that, they will say no. So when I came in, he gladly picked me up and intimated me to assist him in running the administration of the Baale's house. And I then told him that there's one thing we have to change. He should stop writing letters on his letterhead. He has Chief Ayo Akigbogun, Baale of Owodegba. No, when you write official letter, you write it officially. Then he asked me, but I'm still the Baale. How then do I write? I said, oh, sorry. You all those letterheading that are your name, you will be writing it to your children, cousins, and all. But when it comes to official letter, I will create a system whereby we shall create what is called Baale in Council, Owodegba. That's all. The address, either Lagos 1 or Lagos whatever, Owodegba, Ogun State. Then I will now sign all your official letters as secretary to the Baale in Council. So that will leave you from all the worries of the community and your chiefs, who always say that you reported them here, reported them there. Your secretary will no longer be in any correspondence. It is your secretary to the Baale in Council. So this was how I was able to create peace in the town. Because whenever they run to him, that they go to the secretary of the Baale Council. I myself being a lawyer, they don't just can come and meet me over any issue just like that. I rather refer them to Alake in Abeokuta, or to the local government, or to DPO, whichever one that fits into their demand, but not to reduce the status of the Baale, which has always been their goal. So the Baale was happy on this so much, and peace became paramount in the town. And in practice, you see, I find it difficult to make my people realize the importance of a lawyer in a rural setting. But I struggled, I managed, I accepted all sorts of treatments and whatever. Since I know that I have a goal, one, to be the first resident legal practitioner in my local government, which I have achieved. and to be a successful one at that. So I was teaching them this, I was coaching them on that, I was teaching on that, all virtually free of charge. But when they pay a pittance. Not because they don't want to pay, but they don't have. Because I find it difficult as their son to deceive them or to tell them lies. I tell them the truth and the whole truth and not but the truth at all times. So by and large, they started acknowledging me when they knew that whatever I tell them, when they go outside to towns, they are going to tell them with heavy charges. They are going to tell them the same thing with heavy charges. There was one close man or client, do I call him client? I don't know. Anytime he comes to me, I will prostrate for him. Brother, Egbon, I will tell him everything he wants. I will tell him virtually free of charge. So now he needs a legal point, as he has always been needing. Instead of coming to me, he then went to Abeokuta. Unfortunately for him, he now came to a chamber where I was making some, do I say working or whatever, where I was professionally attached. So they now told him to wait for 4 hours. He waited. When they were now about to attend to him, they now told him to go and see, the solicitor clerk of the chamber now told him to go and see the lawyer, who will tell him exactly what he wants and interview him and so. When he opened the door, he now saw me that I'm the one he has come to see or to meet. He almost collapsed. Say, Egbon, yes, what do you want? You know, he could not talk. He was saying sorry. I don't say sorry, what for? You have come to another chamber. I have my chamber in Odegba. You have come to another chamber in Abeokuta. Hey, but there is no sorry in it. But unfortunately for you, you don't know you will meet me. No? So now you have met me. Tell me what you want. Then I will go and tell my Oga. Simple. My principal. It was when he came back to the town or wherever. He came to my house and apologized that what you would have taken from me free of charge, he has gone to waste his time for 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours by achieving the same thing you would have achieved if he had not gone to Abeokuta. I said, well, that's a lesson for you in life or about life. So those are the experiences. On the issue of strengthening the society, yes. The entire community does not know much of their rights. So on this basis, many public officers cheat them over their rights. So they come to me, I will go to whoever they are reporting about, tell them that this is my client, apart from that is my cousin, he wants this, he wants this, he said you did this to him, you did this to her, you did this to her, please stop it. There is now a lawyer in town, please. If you do this next time, I will file a motion against you. Straight. I won't even come and explain anything. So all these now help me to change the society. And public officers started watching their behaviors, watching their deeds, watching how they dot their eyes and how they tick their teeth. And now the society, the Owode and Egba community is now abreast of their right to a reasonable level. So I think I am grateful to God on that, because I've actually sacrificed many things in the process. Sacrificed in the process in the sense that I don't have much property, because most of the job I do for them is virtually free, and if they pay little, they pay pittance. But I didn't look at that. I ride Okada all the time. Okada machine is my mobility. I don't bother. I don't care. I ought to have a CV or what do they call those big vehicles. But it doesn't impress me. What impresses me is how to take care of my people, how to help my people, and I have helped them sufficiently enough that nobody, I repeat, nobody maltreats my people in Owodegba anymore. Thanks to God, and thank God, God also helped me by upgrading my home with 5 gigaplatinum studio. That's something. I think that is what God has compensated me for free. I think that is what God has compensated me for all I've done. I believe so. As a human being, I think so. It may not be so, but I think so. As a human being, God has compensated me duly. Yeah. Part of my achievement is that one, as I said earlier, I brought Obafemi Owodegba district to my village/town, Owodegba. Today, in the Obafemi Owodegba district, by extension, Obafemi local government, we now have 5 courts. Magistrate Court 1, which is the court of the head of the magistrate district. Magistrate Court 2, Magistrate Court 3, Magistrate Court 4, Magistrate Court 1, Owodegba. Magistrate Court 2, Mowe. Magistrate Court 3, Owodegba. Magistrate Court 4, Iro. Magistrate Court 5, Owodegba. And very soon, by the grace of God, there will soon be Owodegba Judicial Division. By the grace of God. So these are my satisfaction in life and achievement. In addition, I was made chairman board of governors of Egbaode Grammar School. I spent almost 10 years. No, they didn't want me to leave. I said no. So at the time I didn't. So in short, I spent 10 years as chairman board of government Egbaode Grammar School. And after leaving the office, I was recommended by education officials to be the sole administrator of Egbaode Grammar School, which I was, and which I did for a few months. So, to be a sole administrator of a government secondary school, I think it's a great achievement. It's a great achievement, because one must have been scrutinized so much that to pass through the scrutiny of core civil servants, and you are made sole administrator of a government secondary school and the oldest secondary school in the local government. I mean, that is something. I take it as an achievement. Where the authorities felt that the authorities at the headquarters, at the Ministry of Education headquarters, felt that there's so much indiscipline in the system, and students were today rioting, tomorrow complaining, next tomorrow brigandage, now tomorrow that, and so. I said, what's all this? So they now said, okay, it is that lawyer that can handle the situation, because he knows them all, and he knows his onion, so he knows what to do. So it is on the basis of that, and judging from my performance as chairman board of governors for 10 years, I said, yes, that's the only man they can recommend to be the sole administrator of that Egbori Grammar School. So that was what led to that. In addition, I contributed immensely to the creation of Egba Owode, the Owode Egba Area Police Command, which had just been created about 2 years ago. When I arrived to Owode Egba, there was only one division. That is Owode Egba Police Division. All others are police posts, Ibafo police post, Mowe police post. No, nothing was even at the detention camp then, and so on. Today we are having about 1 Owode Egba Police Division, 2 Mowe Police Division, 3 Ibafo Police Division, 4 Redeem Camp Police Division. And coupled with crowning up with Owode Egba Police Area Command, Owode Egba. But one of my complaints was that the Owode Egba is under Shagamu Area Command, and I complained vehemently to the authorities that Shagamu Area Command, the entire Shagamu Division, the size is not up to Owode Egba local government, and Remo Division is having about 4 local government now. If I can remember, Shagamu local government, Ikenne local government, Remo North, I think, Remo North local government. I think there are about 3. Shagamu, Ikenne, Remo North. Yes, I think there are about 3 local government. It's not up to about the size of the whole Remo division. It's not up to about the local government. And so I said, why should we be under Shagamu Area Command? Those are one of my contentions, which was accepted by the police hierarchy, and immediately created Owode Egba Police Area Command. But to the glory of God. No, I don't usually write letters. You know, whenever I attend meetings, that like police community relation committee, like both at divisional level, at Remo division level, at Shagamu divisional level at that time, at our day, both at state police officers, you see at that level as well. I used to raise the points. And I used to raise the point communally within the community. Why are we being treated like this? I mean, so and so on. And the authority had my prayers. That's all. I've enjoyed legal practice, no doubt. In fact, I so enjoyed it that I was joking with a judge one day, and I said, the court is my second home. I cannot do without coming to court every day. They were telling me, Grandpa, rest at home, rest. I said, look, I'm not used to coming to court every day, and if I've been coming to court, if I've been going to court since 1961, every day, including Saturdays, and 1961 to date, and that's about 61 to 2021, 60 years. If I've been going to court every day, including Saturdays, for 60 years, and nobody can now tell me to rest. I will not rest because my blood vessels now read law and law courts, and they were laughing. And they said, most importantly, it will not be an overstatement if I say I will die in the bar. Let everybody come to laughter. They said, Baba, you not die in court, you not die in court. And so we all laughed about it, and so I enjoy legal practice because it makes you know your right. One, it makes you to help others to know their right. It helps you to achieve the goal of your clients. 4, it helps you to free your clients from unsubstantiated allegations. Well, invariably, all my mentors have almost died. But that notwithstanding, I enjoy them during their days, during their lives, and so on. Starting from, as I said, the Honorable Justice Joseph Atedun Yadimasi of memory is my greatest mentor. Of course, he's my greatest mentor because it picked me up from the street. Let me use that language, from the street. I mean, from where I'm picking ball, it's as good as from the street. So he's my greatest mentor. Then followed by the Honorable Justice Sir Adetokunbo Adegboyega Adebola, a great jurist, followed by the Honorable Justice Kayode Esho, a vibrant jurist who believes so much in the principle of Professor Hart. Law is law. Unlike Professor, what's the name of this moral professor? No, none of them. He believes in morality in law. I forgot his name. I forgot his name. Law is Professor Hart. Law is law. Justice is an apostle of Professor Hart. Law is law. Very vibrant. Then followed by Dr. Medical Humphrey Idemudia Idehe, another great mentor. He's a medical practitioner. He also helped me in life. Just like Jessica Odesho helped me seriously in life. And so on. Then, of course, Chief Adegunle Edo, the renowned pharmacist with the label of Adedo Chemist of number 4 Whitman Street, Yaba, of blessed memory. He helped me by teaching me the rudiments of life. Do this, don't do this, do that, don't do this. Morality of life. Don't do that. Do this. Good. Read your book. Use this book. Use this. Don't follow. Don't go to a stadium. Don't do this. Morality. The real ethics of life. I gained it from him. Because I was so close to him. I was so close to him. Because as he opened me up in the academics, I was doing this, if not, I would just be doing that. And so on. Then, yes. Sir, of course, the Honorable Justice Sir Danley Otto Raymond Alexander. Also a blessed memory. The then Chief Justice of Nigeria. He also helped me in life. Stood by me and so forth. Of course, of course. The Honorable Justice Danny Bekwe. I had a little period. I worked with him for a little period, and the little period I so enjoyed it. That was at the time. I think I went to stand in for his personal secretary for a few periods. But the few periods I so enjoyed him. He's a fine gentleman. He was a fine gentleman. Along with Justice Mohammed Bello, the former Chief Justice of Nigeria. He also a fine gentleman. So enjoy them. Those are the people, but they are all of blessed memory. So thank God for one thing. They raised me up to the level of no regret. So that's enough. That's enough they have done for me. They raised me up to the level of no regret. Well, my advice for younger generation is to be honest. Honest. Most of them are no longer honest. That's my pain. That's my pain. And when you look for money, you cannot be honest. There's a saying, if it goes that the moment you are ready to be honest, you must be ready to be poor. So it's an acknowledged adage. The moment you are ready to be honest, you must be ready for poverty. So it is on this principle the present generation relied on, and they are looking for money, and by implication, they are no longer honest. The majority of them are no longer honest. The majority of them are fraudulent. The majority of them are lazy. All they want is money. As if money will come from manna. They are not ready to do anything. They are not ready to help others. They don't care what follows, what happens, what's going on. So that's my pain for the new generation. Like for example, nobody will, no new generation will go and face what I faced in the village, trying to educate your people. They will love to stay in the urban centers, where they will be able to buy those cars immediately and then flashing it about that they have arrived in whatever form. That's the problem. So that's the problem. My advice for them, however, is to be honest with their job, to be honest so as to keep their good name, to be diligent in their work, to be transparently clean, and above all, to be above board. By so doing, they will keep their good name, their name will be kept intact, and from there, once you have good name, you will have good people around you who will lift you up. Simple. Good people will come around you, and God will send somebody or many persons to lift you up. Oh, but the present generation are no longer waiting for that. Oh, but that is the best approach. Be honest with life. Wealth will come by itself. After all, wealth is better than richness. Wealth goes with your many things, with your money, with your name, with your identity, with your wealth. But richness only goes with money and acquired properties. That's all. When you say so is rich, you can be referring to a criminal to be a rich man. Yes, a criminal can be a rich man, but a criminal cannot be a wealthy man. No, a criminal cannot be a wealthy man because he cannot have a good name. He cannot have a good personality. And in the community of nations, in the community of societies, in the community of communities, he knows his distance, he knows his coins, he knows where to go, he knows where not to go, with all his richness. So that's it. That's my advice to the new generation. To be honest, wealth will come. Well, number one, I made them to understand that law is a good profession. Right from birth. I used to make them know this or understand it from birth. No, it's not from school, the age of birth, right from birth. I always made them to understand that law is a good profession. That is why in all prayers, by all religions, you always talk, ọlọ́jọ́ kan will be lawyer o, ọlọ́jọ́ kan will be the doctor o. Those are the two prayers I've always known during my own time. No other job. That's the only prayer or the only prayers I've always been used to or been hearing from elders, from those who are even older than me. ọlọ́jọ́ kan will be the lawyer o, ọlọ́jọ́ kan will be the doctor o. Those are the two professions that are always put into prayer by bishops, by primates, by afars, by imams, by traditional priests, and so on and so forth. So that has endeared me to the profession, and I've made my children to understand that profession is noble. You know your right, and so forth and so forth. So by the time they now go start school, they might be lawyer. I will become lawyer. So it's already ingrained in them. So that's how I made them to read law. And when they now get to the present syllabus, SS1, whatever, when they are now choosing, they themselves now choose subjects that will lead them to read law. But they have already developed interest in it right from birth. So this is how I was able to convince them. And they became self-convinced.
Tio